NBC News, sued for defamation and about to go to trial on April 22nd, just settled a $30 million case against it brought by an OBGYN named Dr. Mahendra Amin. So here's what happened. Only Fox News is covering it. Nobody else wants to cover this story. Well, maybe I should just show you the soundbite first. Rachel Maddow covered it. Nicole Wallace covered it. Chris Hayes covered it. MSNBC.com covered it. And they all covered it basically the same way, which is why they got sued. And they were all expected to be called at trial as witnesses. Here's a sample of Rachel Maddow's coverage about this doctor who was the subject of a report aired ubiquitously over there about him allegedly performing unnecessary hysterectomies at Immigration and Customs Enforcement centers, at an ICE detention center. Watch.
I thought this was like an experimental concentration camp. It was like they're experimenting with our bodies. The nurse who contributed to this whistleblower complaint explains it like this, quote, everybody this doctor sees has a hysterectomy, just about everybody. He's even taken out the wrong ovary on one detained immigrant woman. She was supposed to get her left ovary removed because it had a cyst on the left ovary. He took out the right one. She was upset. She had to go back to take out the left, and she wound up with a total hysterectomy. She still wanted children. So she has to go back home now and tell her husband that she can't bear kids. She said she was not all the way out under anesthesia and heard the doctor tell the nurse that he took out the wrong ovary. The nurse says she and her fellow nurses, quote, questioned among ourselves, like, goodness, he's taking everybody's stuff out. That's his specialty. He's the uterus collector. She says, quote, I know that's ugly. Is he collecting these things or something? Everybody he sees, he's taking all their uteruses out or he's taking their tubes out. What in the world? I should tell you that these allegations from this whistleblower are not isolated complaints. NBC News has spoken to 4 different lawyers who represent women who were detained in that federal facility in Georgia who are making similar claims.
Also swept up in the litigation, NBC News reporter Jacob Soboroff and Julia Ainsley, as well as MSNBC producer Dennis Horgan, Senior Director of Standards and Practices Mary Lockhart, and Deputy Head of Standards and Practices Chris Scholl, and others, by the way. So what the judge found in allowing the case to go forward, to go to trial against NBC, Judge Lisa Godby Wood of the Southern District of Georgia, ruled that a jury, under the facts alleged here, could find that NBC and its employees acted with actual malice, which is the standard that was going to apply here, and said as follows, quote, NBC investigated this alleged whistleblower, like some whistleblower came out and said, he's doing this. NBC investigated the whistleblower letter's accusations. That investigation did not corroborate the accusations and even undermined some of them. NBC republished the letter's accusations anyway, Judge Wood wrote in a 108-page summary. And this doctor, who was portrayed as evil and disgusting, harming immigrant women there without their consent and just as some sort of like Dr. Mengele type, is, in fact, they say, according to his lawyers, a dedicated physician who dedicated his entire career to serving underserved communities, and the NBC behaved recklessly trying to paint him as evil. So what happened was they first put it in an NBC News article in September 2020, citing this alleged whistleblower's claim. And then MSNBC quickly jumped on board. That was too good for them to resist, Stu, with Nicole Wallace, Chris Hayes, Rachel Maddow, all running with the, quote, uterus collector label for this guy. He filed a lawsuit against the parent company, NBC Universal, alleging that he's been portrayed falsely. And now on the eve of trial, they settled a $30 million suit. We don't know yet we may never, what the settlement was for, but I bet it was a big number with all those stars about to get dragged into court and answer for their investigatory processes before they slap a report like that, which is obviously defamatory, on the air. Yeah. What do you make of it?
especially when you have some behind-the-scenes investigation that doesn't corroborate it. I mean, I think there's real questions as to whether you should even cover an accusation like that when it's just an accusation and there's no other evidence corroborating it. I mean, just saying that about a person, and the left loves to do this. The media does it all the time, where they'll just, well, this person said it. All we're doing is reporting what they said. Well, as a journalistic institution, it's kind of your job to have a little bit more. You might not be able to go through it in full investigation. You don't have to necessarily hit some legal standard to report the claim, but you should have some idea whether you think it's true or not. And unfortunately, I think the filter they run it by is, do we want this to be true?
Yeah.
That's the beginning and the end of their investigation in a lot of these claims. And the fact that they did, or at least allegedly did, an investigation that didn't corroborate it, made it seem like it wasn't true, and still aired it, is absolute, I think, hitting that standard of malice. I mean, that is completely beyond the pale. A lot of times I hear stuff, I'm sure you do, Megyn, as well. Callers call us. We get, email tips. People that I know who work in the government will tell me things that are really salacious or really support my viewpoint, my priors as I walk into a situation. And that is when I'm on my highest level of guard. Because of course I want something to be true. And when I know I want it to be true, I raise the standard even higher to make sure I'm not just reporting junk, because human beings are vulnerable to that type of thing. It seems like all of these organizations are living by a totally different standard, and they just financially paid for that standard.
It's amazing because NBC has a very well-paid and well-experienced standard and practices group that you can't get anything on the air without going through these people. I've told the audience this before, but we were doing a report on my 1 year morning show over there, and it was about Roger Ailes. I think he died. I think it was that he had died. I can't remember, to be honest, but it was I don't remember what year Roger died, but it was shortly after I left Fox. And it came up that he had been involved in the Me Too thing and everything that happened at Fox. And I was reading this script that said several women at Fox News accused him of sexual harassment, including yours truly. And then we moved on. And they wanted me to insert, he denied all claims, including my own. And I was like, I'm not going to read that. Like, I realize, why don't you just have somebody else do it then? Like, I'm not reading that. I know what happened. There. I wrote a whole book about it. It's ridiculous. The Murdochs, and they were like, you will read it because it's what's fair to him. And they weren't wrong. It was just, I was so freshly off of that whole thing. I was like, I'm not doing that. I think I wound up reading and he denied it, which was a false denial because it happened. Something I can't remember what I said, but I remember sort of stealing the last word on it. I only tell that story to reiterate that they're tough. They're generally tough over there about maintaining some semblance of fairness, especially on dicey legal matters, like a whistleblower coming out and saying something that is very clearly defamatory, if not true, very clearly defamatory, if not true. So I think you're exactly right. This was too good. It's like they're hurting immigrants. They're stealing uteri. And this guy, rather than seeing him, it's kind of like what happened to CNN. We had on that plaintiff, the guy who got defamed by CNN, who was overseas in Afghanistan trying to help people get out. And yes, he charged a fee to help people get out. It was in line with what the fees are to get out. But they completely ripped this guy as though he was profiting off of the pain of others. No, this is a service. You can get hired, and you can, big companies hire him to get their people out. And they made him seem like he was this opportunist. And all these texts came out in the litigation saying he has a punchable face. And they were mad that he called them back prior to the report to actually weigh in. They're like, oh God, now he's calling. No, an honest reporter wants that. You want the other side to be able to weigh in. Anyway, it's just one of many examples that we've seen of corrupt media. Tariff wars, stubborn inflation, no wonder gold has been routinely, especially recently, hitting all-time highs. In volatile markets like the one we're seeing, do not sit on the sidelines with your head in the sand. You can take control and safeguard your savings. This is why so many Americans today are turning to Birch Gold Group. They have helped tens of thousands convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. Is it time for you to hedge against economic instability with gold? To learn how to own physical gold in a tax-sheltered account, text MK to the number 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free, no-obligation info kit. Again, text MK to the number 989898. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and countless of 5-star reviews, Birch Gold has helped many protect their savings with gold. It took us decades to get into the tangled mess they're now trying to unpack in D.C. How long will it take to get out of that mess? And at what cost? Consider gold as an option. Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.